I'm going to go over some of the practice question answers for you just so you can see how to answer them in case you're confused. So for number 1 here, we need to use these symbols to fill in the blanks. So these symbols here are the greater than, less than, or equal to symbols. So if you don't know how to use these symbols, you kind of read them as a sentence or like a sentence, so from left to right. So let's say, for instance, I have 5 and then this symbol and then a 3. So how you would read this is you would read it like a sentence. So you'd start on the left, work your way to the right, and you would say 5. Now, how you read these symbols is if the bigger end comes first, you will say greater than. So do you see here how the bigger end comes first if you're reading it like a sentence? So bigger, greater. So you would read that as greater than. If the smaller end of the arrow comes first, so the one that's closed off, the little point there, you would read it as less than. So if we're looking at this little example I did up here, this says 5 is greater than 3. That's what that's saying here. So if we were to put in these symbols for question number 1 here, what we want to do is we want to figure out which number is greater than or less than the other number, or are they equal? So if you're given a fraction for this, convert those fractions to decimals. So for instance, for a here, if I put this in my calculator, 2 over 3, you do 2 divided by 3, which is equal to 0.6 repeated. There's a little repeated sign up there. And then if we want to convert the 5 over 8 to a decimal, we would get 0.625. So now you need to know which one of these is bigger, and that's when that like a number line could come into play. Where would each of these fall on a number line? So for this one here, 0.6 repeated is the bigger number than 0.625. And the reason for that is if we're looking at the rest of this number here, this would be 0.666, and the 6's would go on forever and ever and ever. Now, in this first decimal place, these two are equal to each other, these two 6's, but if we look at the next decimal place, clearly 6 is bigger than this 2 here. So 0.666 is the bigger number. Therefore, 2 over 3 is bigger than 5 over 8, or 2 over 3 is greater than 5 over 8. So remember, we read this like a sentence. The bigger end comes first, so how we read it is 2 over 3 is greater than 5 over 8 from left to right. So you'll do the same thing with all the rest of these here. If you need any help on these, please send me a message on Teams. But if you have a fraction, just convert it to a decimal and see if the two numbers are equal to each other or if one's bigger than the other. For number 2, what you're going to do there is you want to put these numbers in order from least to greatest. Now, if you're given fractions, it's kind of hard to tell. So what you want to do, again, is convert all the fractions to decimal points. So for a, you would do 3 divided by 8, and you get 0.375. Then 1 divided by 4, you get 0.25. And 7 divided by 8, you would get 0.875. So now that we can see these as decimal points, I could clearly see which one is smaller and which ones are bigger. So if I'm putting these in order, it would be this one first here, number 1, so 0.25. Then the next bigger one would be this one here, 0.375. And finally, 0.875. Now, when you're giving your final answer for these ones, you want to give the original number, so these ones here. So you find the order using the decimal numbers, but then you use the fractional numbers to actually give me your final answer. So the order for these ones would be 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just going to write them in order below. So from least to greatest, it would be 1 over 4, comma, 3 over 8, comma, 7 over 8. And you're going to do the same thing for B and C here. Now, these ones are actually easier because they give you some decimal numbers. But if you're given a fraction, like you are here and here and here and here, convert those to decimals because it'll be a lot easier for you to see which number is bigger and smaller. For 3, these are just some practice putting these numbers on the number lines given. Now I do give you the answer key below, so you can check these out here if you are stuck, but I want you to try those ones on your own. For A, it's easier because they give you decimal numbers. There's no fractions there. But for B, once again, you're going to have to convert it from a fraction to a decimal in order to see where they would go on the number line. And then finally for 4, this one here, you can have a bunch of different answers. So if you want to answer these questions here and send me a message on Teams to ask me, hey, are these correct? I can let you know. This one's tricky. These two numbers are really close together, but remember, when we have two numbers really close together like that, just add a decimal point after here. Okay, and that'll give you a number in between these two. If you're given 2 fractions, convert them to decimals. And if you're given a decimal and 1 fraction, convert just the fraction to a decimal, and then you'll be able to see which numbers are in between. Other than that, if you have any questions, please message me on Teams, and definitely use the answer key below to help you out if you get stuck.